Thank you, Chrissy. Thanks, everybody. I'm a little bit of an anomaly at this conference because I'm actually a producer, and representing a company that has actually got into production over the last couple of years. So on that Lassonde curve, we're right at the bottom and we're just going into production. So as this year ramps up, it's going to be quite interesting. The other anomaly, I suppose, is we're a lead mine, lead silver mine. So lead's not very sexy, but it's certainly something that's required in our community, and particularly with batteries. And certainly our stakeholders and our offtake partners are very keen to get hold of this lead from the Abra mine, and it's all going very well. That picture on the front just gives you a good cross-section of what we're doing right now. We've been very busy for quite a few years now. We've probably slipped under the radar of a lot of people, particularly over here on the East Coast. What we did through the COVID period was we just rolled our sleeves up and got on with it, and we delivered this project last year on time and on budget. So there's a picture of underground ore, some stopes being drilled out, our decline, secondary crusher, flotation circuit, making some concentrate, our rotainers being carted down to Geraldton, and our first ship being exported out of the Port of Geraldton. So our third shipment actually goes out tomorrow, so as we continue to ramp up. We have had a couple of little speed wobbles along the way this year, but this project's come into fruition very quickly, and we've used some pretty strong contractors to help us to get to where we are today, which we're very excited about. Very proud. I'm very, very proud of what we've achieved at this project over the period of time that we've put it together. Just a very a bit of a timeline from when we started from IPO to where we are now. This is actually quite a good slide to show at this conference, because I think there's a lot of budding new producers out there that might like to see how hard it is to get to where we've got to today, and the amount of work that you have to put in. 2017 was our IPO. There was about 36 kilometres of drilling at the time. 2018 we drilled another 12 kilometres, 2 mineral resource estimates, a scoping study and a PFS. 2019 Toho Zinc made a $90 million investment into our project to become our joint venture partner, which is very exciting, Toho Zinc out of Japan. 2020, the beginning of COVID, we had 13 banks lined up to debt fund this project. And then COVID came along, and then 13 banks disappeared very, very quickly. It sort of happened overnight. So, and that's understandable at the time when you think about the risk profile and so forth, and the uncertainty about what was going on in the world. That sort of made a bit of sense. Private equity companies, perhaps a little bit different in their risk profile, and Taurus came in and offered us a $110 million US debt facility to build this project. So that was an exciting time for us. 2021. Another mineral resource estimate, that's the last one, financial investment decision, site access, and then 2022 we got on and we built this project, and we delivered this project build, and this is the 5th mine that I've been heavily involved with building over my career. So the model that we used is very similar to previous successful models that I've built, certainly in my career over there. 2023 to date, we started producing concentrate at the beginning of the year. We probably picked a bad spot to go into this ore body. We had some trouble with some of the delays in metal production from there. And then in March, late March, the Gascoyne River got flooded, and we were hit with a big rain event that effectively stopped us for the whole month of April. And that's certainly put us on the back foot a little bit, but we've now built a new plan. We've got a new plan together, and we've got the rest of this year mapped out. We know exactly what we're doing, and we've hit some significant targets in May. So onwards and upwards to steady state, and this mine certainly is a very significant deposit. It's 200 metres below the surface, has a lot of intrinsic value in the metal that's in the ground. It's just a matter for us to get it up and get it going, and really get it going on an annual basis, and we're well on the way to doing that. If I look at this year and our pathway to guidance, as I briefly said before, we had that problem at the beginning of the year that we've now got through. May production, we set a whole stack of records in terms of metres mined, concentrate produced, underground stope production. We got up to 36,000 tonnes in May, and in June we're well on the way to breaking just about all of those records. So we're well on the way in June. It's looking very good as we send off our third ship, concentrate ships off tomorrow. And for the second half of this year, it's all about getting up to steady state, get the plant up to greater than 100, and the mine up greater than 100,000 tonnes each month, and produce between 37 and 47,000 tonnes of lead metal to get us back on track and to deliver our guidance that we plan. Interesting picture on the top right-hand diagram shows you where we've accessed the ore body at the very, very top. It's actually the edge, the whole thing's been tilted up. So this is one of the problems we had early in the year. We actually came in probably on the edge of the deposit, and it behaved like the edge of the deposit. So in hindsight, we probably should have been a little bit deeper, but that's where we picked. It's pretty easy to be in hindsight when it's 230 metres below the surface. But we'll get through that, and the rest of the ore body is looking very good. Bottom right-hand picture is a stope. It's a stope that we've mined. I think that was stope number 2. The little CMS on the right-hand side shows you how good we were at taking that shape out in terms of what we're mining. So we're probably up to stope 7 or 8 right now. So the stoping's really improving, and as the stoping ramps up, the grade ramps up. We just get out of just all being development, and we get more stoping online, more production online. And once we get to about 70% production, 30% development, that the grades will really come to the party in terms of our production profile. This just shows you our guidance that we have in place. You'll find that online today in this announcement. You can go back and have a look at that and see where we're at. So our lead metal production guidance for this year is now 50 to 60,000 tonnes. This was previously published, and we're still on track to deliver that for the rest of this year. So the really encouraging thing about this project, once we get this up and running and fully flying, it really is a cash maker. So we're really looking forward to getting to that state, into that steady state as the year goes on. Let's talk about lead. Lead's pretty interesting, and I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's a bit hard to get excited about lead, and I think it's a forgotten metal a little bit. So 88% of refined lead goes into batteries, lead acid batteries. You know, majority of EVs in the world still has a lead acid battery. I hired a hybrid car at Avis yesterday and drove down here, and what's interesting about the hybrid, I think it's an awesome little car, but the battery in that, the lead acid battery in that little hybrid Corolla is actually bigger than a normal battery because of all the stopping and starting and the control systems and the safety systems in the car. A lot of these cars still have 12 volt batteries, lead acid batteries. And why is that? It's because they're reliable, they're pretty cheap, and they're very good at what they do. So, you know, they still use them quite a lot. You don't hear about that much out there in the world because lead's pretty nasty. But really, I suppose the other thing is if it's not your cup of tea and you run out of tea and got to go down to the shop and get some more tea and you go and hop in your car and your battery's failed, you have to buy a new one if you want to keep that car. So, you know, some of those things just don't change. It'll change eventually, and we'll get to the other, you know, things will move on and in the world will change. India's a very interesting, so lead pricing and lead demand is driven by the developing companies, places like China and India. And India is an interesting example where they've come out and are really pushing their people to go down the hybrid line. And the reason for that is because they don't have the infrastructure to plug their cars into to power them up, but they can certainly go down the hybrid path to reduce their CO2 emissions. So there's some interesting things going on in the world. I think we've still got a long way to go for the complete transition to EVs, and lead has its place in the short term. So there's a picture of a Kia Soul EV there with a lead acid battery sitting on the side. So the other thing that's happening is that there's some big demand for large BESS, they call them BESS, big-ass electrical storage systems throughout the world, particularly in China, just putting in the world's largest 5G network, and that has a huge consumption of lead acid batteries to go into that network, and that's happening at the moment. So Wood Mackenzie is saying stable price forecast for lead next couple of years, 23 to 26 at around $2,150 a tonne. So we certainly see that stability. And interesting, in Australian dollars, you also see quite a natural hedge for the lead price. So what we find is quite a stable price. And it does behave differently to a lot of other base metals, and it's certainly something worth having a look at or thinking about for your investment portfolio. In terms of lead supply, we do see a slight increase. There's the reserves are diminishing, so we are seeing a slight increase from 2022 through to 2025, and then you'll see a drop-off in the world's lead resources and lead mines that are in producing. The red part of that graph represents the Abra contribution to lead in the world. The unique thing about the Abra deposit is it's the cleanest lead deposit in the world, lead silver deposit in the world. We don't have any nasties in our product. And our feedback from our Toho friends from the smelter is that they're very excited about what we delivered to the smelter in terms of environmental byproducts. So they're very excited to get as much concentrate from us as we can possibly deliver. The Ukraine war, one of the issues obviously is the energy costs in Europe because of the war, Russian war in Ukraine. So Certainly, some of the lead smelters are under pressure in Europe, so that may or may not influence us in the long run. It seems to have been quite resilient though during that period in terms of its price makeup. In terms of exploration, very quickly, we have drilled 4 holes to the north of the Abra Fault, so the decline comes down, goes through the Abra Fault, goes into the open and core domains. We've drilled 4 holes to the north over sort of like a very big area, and all of those holes have hit lead mineralisation, and one of those holes are the Ale prospects about 700 metres from where we are underground there. So it's a sedimentary basin. The stratigraphy is very uniform. It covers a large area. It's all deep. It's all quite deep under the ground. So we've got a lot of work to do from an exploration point of view. And the other one that I think is very interesting, a bit of a sleeper for us at Abra, is that there is a gold-copper indication sitting below the lead-silver. So the green here is lead-silver. Sitting underneath in the yellows and the oranges are gold and copper intercepts that we've never really followed up because it's sort of sitting underneath. Our plan is to put the decline down and drill from underground into those. So in the second half of this year, we plan to drill a couple of holes down into the gold copper in areas just to explore and see what that looks like. So our infrastructure, our strategy here has been build the mine, get it up and running, infrastructure in place, get the decline down, and let's go and drill for some gold and copper at the same time. So that'll start to happen later in the year as we go forward. So in terms of our tenements, the Abra tenements on the right-hand side, which is under the joint venture, is 100 square kilometres where Abra sits. To the west of Abra, 100% Galena-owned tenement package along strike from Abra, and about 70 kilometres from Abra is one of the largest geophysical anomalies on Australia scale wide. And to be brutally honest, to my geology friends that work with us and work on this area, they haven't got a bloody clue what that's there for. So, and nobody else really knows either. So we've got a lot of work to do, but that's a significant anomaly that needs to be followed up by us as we go forward. In terms of our capital structure, our issues, our speed bubbles that we had at the start of the year certainly have affected our share price. We've dropped down to around about 10 cents at the moment. Our enterprise value is 158 million, so I think we're definitely at the bottom of the trough, and as we ramp up this year, I think we should see a response to this as we go forward. And I'd like to thank all of our significant shareholders who really supported us through this period, which has been awesome. And I look forward to repaying back their ongoing support. So just to set up to look forward for potential for us, for Abra and for Galena. We've built this project on time and on budget. We've had 3 shipments as of tomorrow. They may ramp up. We've set lots of records. June will probably beat most of those records. We've got all of our production plans locked in place through to the end of the year, and probably about 75% of those production plans through the end of the year are probably drilled out to 12 by 12 spacing. So we have a very high level of confidence in what the rest of the year actually looks like. So, and the Abra deposit is one of the cleanest and largest lead silver deposits in the world, and we're right in amongst it now. We're very busy. And Toho is our joint venture partner, and their lead concentrate goes to their smelter, Chigurashima smelter in Hiroshima. Fantastic company to work with, very good joint venture partner, going very, very well. So in terms of our steady state guidance, and this is the big kicker for this project, 1.3 million tonnes per annum, that's what we're doing. We will get this thing up to an EBITDA of between $90 and $95 million a year, which is a significant amount of cash once we get to that steady state, which we will get to probably about halfway through the second half of this year. Just a closer, just to show you my 16,000 solar panels that I've got that provide 6 megawatts of power. I just want to let you know that there's 1.5 tonnes of lead amongst those solar panels. Thank you.
That's huge.